A major part of Photoshop is using selection tools and combining objects together. So we're going to show you a few of those today. Most of your selection tools here, you can do some straight, rectangular, elliptical marquee. You have your lasso options, kind of freehand tracing, polygon, magnetic lasso. Some of the newer ones would be quick selection tool. Magic Wand has been around for a while as well. But any one of these will help you isolate objects, copy and paste them, edit them. So I have a bunch of pictures. We're going to use this as our base photo and bring some different stuff into it. And a major thing that you're going to want to do in Photoshop. So for instance, one would be using the selection tool to select simple shapes like squares and circles. So if you have something that's a square or circle, I would use one of these tools. And when you draw with the selection tool, it makes a selection like so. A nice feature here is the transform select button so that you can adjust if you need to, because a lot of times when you make your first selection, it's not going to be perfect. Mine was pretty close there, but not exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to kind of touch that up, hit return. The nice thing about selection tools, you can see what you have selected. This little marquee, or marching ants we call them, will show you what your selection is. What I want to do next is copy and paste this and bring it over to my other document. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can go edit copy, edit paste. Another quick way to do it, if you look at your layer via copy, is Command J. It'll make a copy of your selection. So I'm going to do that, Command J. And you'll notice on my layers palette, I now have an isolated layer with just the moon by itself. You want to be able to see both files, and then you know what I'm going to do is just drag, make sure I can see both of these here. And then I'm just going to drag this layer into this file and drop it in there. Cool, so my moon is good. I might size it up a little bit. Remember, you can use your show transform controls to size any object. So that's just a elliptical marquee selection tool, pretty easy to use. Which one do we want to do next here? Let's go with the astronaut. This is pretty easy to use here. Some other nice ones are quick selection and magic wand. These work best for areas of solid color. So I have this black background, so it'll be easy for me to isolate and then just kind of flip it around. So I'm going to select all this background. You see how I just kind of dragged over all that black area. And again, I'll show you. If you ever have a selection and you want to get rid of it, you can hit Command D and get rid of your selection. You'll notice too that you have some nice features like add to selection, subtract from selection. So you can kind of touch it up a little bit. Now, like for instance, right here, I probably want to remove this part of my selection. I kind of went into a spot where I didn't want it to go, so I'm going to touch it up a little bit. I want to select the opposite here. I don't want to have the background selected, so I'm going to go select inverse and select the opposite. And notice I still have some little spots here that I could maybe subtract away. And it's kind of just playing with it a little bit to get it how you want. Command J will copy your astronaut for you, and I can pull them off my tab so I can see both objects. Let me just bring this guy over here, and I'll take my layer and drag it in. Boom, there's my astronaut. It looks kind of grainy when I'm zoomed in close, but when I drag it over, he's scaled out so far that you don't really notice. So let's maybe try to adjust that a little bit here. I don't know how big I want to make my astronaut. Okay. Power station. Let's pretend this power station is going to go in. Another nice selection tool. You have lasso tool. That lets you kind of freehand draw. Oops, let me show you the difference here. Lasso tool, if you're doing a quick selection, you're going to touch it up later. You maybe just want to cut it out quickly. Freehand draw. Polygon lasso is for objects with straight edges. So wherever that arrow is, that's where it's going to start. So I can just kind of follow the edge of a selection like so. And this is only recommended for objects with straight edges. This one should work pretty well. Okay, Command J, again you'll see I copied it over. And let's bring it to our space picture once again. There's our power station. Now keep in mind you can adjust any of the visuals, how your adjustments look, to make this look better. So remember you have all your adjustment options up top. So you can touch up color. You also have blending modes over here on your layers palette. So if you look on your layers palette, you can make things lighter or darker based on what you want it to look like. Okay, so the last one is this one here, and for this I would suggest using maybe the magnetic lasso just to try it out. Magnetic lasso finds areas of like edges for you, and you kind of just trace around and it'll trace the edge for you, kind of finds the difference on the edges. It's better if it's a defined edge. See, if you notice, the black area is really snapping too easily, but when I move it up top here, maybe not so much. It doesn't want to jump where I want it to jump, so I'm going to kind of just click my own points and make it. If it jumps somewhere you don't want to jump, you can hit the backspace key and it'll delete your last anchor point. So you can kind of customize it. The key thing with that is you have to do a continuous loop around to start off where you came back from, so you have a selection like this. And I can Command J it once again, close this one down, and let's bring this one over. There's my UFO. Bring this back into my tabs here, and there we go. Those are some of the simple selection tools that'll help you out for the next project.